Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, which means it is Armchair GMs. Yes, we're actually live today. Imagine that. Um, so we got you hopefully to the playoffs. If you are in the playoffs, Kyle and I had talked about doing like a help through the playoffs, but honestly, if you're there, you know what you're doing. If you really feel that bad about your team, trade for a good player. You know the good players. Like, don't go trade for uh, I don't know, Mark Ingram or something stupid. You know what I mean? So instead of that, we decided to do a fantasy awards show um, because there was a lot of weird stuff this year. So why don't we hop right on into our Jocks Awards? What is the first award that we have, Kyle?
If my computer would load and be good. Our first award is our Sleeper Seeker Award. You guys know this as our kind of gems hidden in the rough, diamond in the rough kind of thing. Guys you never see coming just explode onto the scene. You can pick them up on your waiver wire. Guys that in the beginning of the season kind of were counted out or not much was expected of them this year, or they just vastly outperformed their ADP. So here's some finalists for it. We have Tony Pollard, Cordarrelle Patterson, who is like 1.4th in running backs, I think now 7th. Matthew Stafford, who's 3rd in quarterbacks. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Hunter Renfrow, who's sneaking up into the teens in terms of receivers. So all of these guys have just vastly outperformed, where they were drafted. And I feel like if you have some of these guys on your team, or even if a couple or a few of them, you're probably in the playoffs. Because, I mean, Tony Pollard, this was not expected of him this year. It was kind of Zeke Elliott all the way. Cordarrelle Patterson, we know about him now. He's much more than just a receiver, much more than just a return man. He killed Mike Davis. Mike Davis is nowhere to be found. Mike Davis is really not seeing the ball. Matthew Stafford with that Rams offense, I mean, with all the weapons that he has, I feel like more people should have seen it coming that he'd perform this well. Jamar Chase, rookie. Jalen Waddle, rookie, both just done incredibly well. I would say Jalen Waddle's more consistent than Jamar Chase is. And lastly is Hunter Renfrow, who has just really come on the scene the last 4 to 5 weeks and is getting the ball a ton. So what we're going to do for all of these awards is just kind of list the finalists, give you a brief rundown of them, and then we'll each choose our winner. So, Brad, who is your winner for this award?
It's hard. Every one of these guys I could make a case for, they could win it, and we couldn't really argue about it. But if you're going to talk about the two most surprising sleeper seekers, it has to be between Cordarrelle and Hunter Renfrow. But in my mind, all I can think is Renfrow wouldn't have done crap if Waller hadn't have been hurt for a long time and they hadn't lost Ruggs. So for me, it has to be Cordarrelle Patterson. No analyst that I've heard, and I've listened to a lot of stuff, no one called that.
Yeah.
At all. Like, I have to go with Cordarrelle. Like, well done, dude. Like, everyone thought you were dead in the water, and he just came out of nowhere and dominated, especially for a Falcons team that just, like, didn't have an identity on offense.
Yeah.
So, for me, Cordarrelle is my Sleeper Seeker Award winner.
Yeah, I would probably give him the same award. Just like you mentioned, I mean, no one at all saw this coming. And Pollard was good this year, but he wasn't like putting up the points that Patterson was. And Hunter Renfrow really hasn't done it the entire year. So like Cordarrelle Patterson week after week after week is just putting up numbers. So I'm going to go with Cordarrelle as well. Let's go to the next award, which is the Jock Award. So on this segment, usually you kind of are familiar with Jock or Joke. So we have a Jock Award and a Joke Award. The Jock Award is the one player we can consistently count on week after week. and I went through a lot of the stats and just some guys from each position that really just game in and game out was very consistent, and you could count on them. If Cooper Kupp, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, the rookie, who the first couple of games you may be thinking, oh, he didn't do that well, but after that, I mean, he was really, really good. Leonard Fournette, who a lot of people did not see that coming at all either. Mark Andrews, who's the number one tight end now and is just getting like 10 to 11 targets every game, which is insane. And then lastly, you're going to probably hate me, but Kirk Cousins. I feel like he is, this year, one of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks. He's not going to always put up 40, but I think you're really counting on a solid 27, 28 from him, and he's usually going to get that. So, Brad, yeah, what do you think about these finalists, and who's your winner?
It's kind of wild card, a lot of these finalists, because Taylor didn't come on until like later in the season. Najee, you're right, it took a couple weeks. Leonard Fournette, we weren't sure what was going on in that backfield for a while. Mark Andrews was quiet for a bit and then went off. So I feel like everybody, like, it took them a minute to get going, except for two players. Kirk Cousins is always consistent, and I hate it. And I don't know if it's because I traded for him. I don't know if it's because I had him. I don't know if it's because he's just the Bama kid. I don't know. But Najee Harris, like, when you think of consistent running backs and good running backs, the first thing that would come to your mind would be Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. The fact that you're doing that as a rookie with a terrible O-line and like no offense to speak of, it has to be Najee for me. It has to be Najee. Like, again, this is weird because this is, again, you made a good list of, like, I could make a case for anybody, but the most interesting for me, at least consistent, maybe not the most consistent. Obviously, that would probably be Cooper Kupp or Jonathan Taylor. But the most consistent that was a surprise for me, I think, is Najee.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. I mean, he only got less than 16 once. 23, then 36, then 30, then 11, 16, 34, 37, 24, 20, 23, 18, 26, and 31. I mean, every week that I see him in the lineup, because thank God I have him, I'm like, will this be the week that he just craps the bed? No.
And he never did.
He never does. I mean, even the 18 that he got is still really good and can help you win. Even the 16 that I got, I mean, the 11's not great, but if that's your worst game, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And he got over 10 targets in each game except for against Houston, at least 10 targets. So this dude's insane. I really thought his value would go up this season when drafting him, but I didn't think it'd go up this much. No way. Because I'm like, Robert Woods is still there. You know, like Robert Woods takes a lot of that targets. Deshaun Jackson was signed on that team. Van Jefferson is elevating his game a little bit. You know, like I didn't think he'd do this. So I would say the most consistent is Cooper Kupp. And it's crazy, too, that he hasn't been shut down yet. Usually you see some of these guys who week in, week out do this, and you're like, oh, now they have him figured out. But we haven't seen it yet. Maybe next year people will have that figured out. But it's still impressive to see him do this without Robert Woods, too, because I feel like most teams are buying into it and like, oh, Cooper Kupp's the guy, let's stop him. But no one has. So.
Yeah. And even if you do stop him, here's the problem. They'll have Robert Woods back. They'll have OBJ, Van Jefferson, like you mentioned, Deshaun Jackson, Higbee, if Higbee can ever figure out what's going on with his hands, Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel, Cam Akers. Like, this team is just an overabundance of offensive weapons. So even if you stop one, everybody else will still be really relevant in fantasy. So
for sure. Next is our Jock Award, and really this just comes down to two guys. We'll each give one, and it's the one player who just really pissed you off if you drafted him. And for me, it's Dallas Goedert because he got signed to an extension, making buku bucks. Ertz got traded away, I know what Dallas Goedert can do. I know the type of talent that he is. I drafted him pretty early because I thought he could have been. I mean, he's tight end number 11, which isn't terrible, but in a 10-team league, it's not great. You know what I mean? You want a top 10 tight end. So, 81.7 of teams own him, and only 51% start him. I feel like Dallas Goedert should be the tight end where everybody owns him and everybody should start him. So the first game he had 14. That was nice to see. Then it was 4, 8, 16, 4, 0, 12, 13, 7, 4, 11, 1. 29 was his last game with Gardner Minshew. So you look at the outlier here, and it's the 28. And that was with Gardner Minshew. So I don't know if it's Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert situation, or if it's a Nick Sirianni situation, or it's both. But really, he has he's doing well in terms of the scheme, what they're asking of him. But fantasy-wise, he's really pissed me off. I drafted him high, and he hasn't done anything deserving of a starting tight end.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Speaking of a Jock Award finalist and winner, if you drafted him in the first round again, as I did since he was my keeper, listen, if you had Christian McCaffrey, that was not what you wanted when you drafted him. I don't know what he finished as. And I mean, yes, he's injured, so I guess don't put too much stock into it. But he wasn't even remotely close to being the number one running back in fantasy. He wasn't even close to being the number one running back. Yeah, he still finished at 30. But let's see. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that he was out. That's half the season. And really, he went out in Houston. So if you really want to count it, it's 8 games where he got forced out. So just if you're ever thinking about McCaffrey, just don't. He was not worth the pick. Honestly, you could have picked him up in the 4th round and have saved your first rounder for something else. Silly me for listening to everybody that said he'll have a bounce back year. Sure he will. Old glass legs McCaffrey back there. Yeah. No thanks. That's a definite winner for the Jock Award for me.
Yeah, I think next year, if he's up there in the first round and I have a mid pick, and it's between him and Najee Harris or him and I don't know Eckler or Ezekiel Elliott, I'm going to choose the other guy.
Okay, I was scared of what you were about to say. I was like,
yeah, I have to. I can't trust him. I can't trust his health. I mean, he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong, but I can't trust his health, and I can't trust a team around him right now because it seems like they don't have an identity and they don't have a quarterback. So that's just, I think, going to hurt him even more. Because if he keeps getting used a ton, which yes, for a couple of games in fantasy, if he gets the ball 30 times a game, you're like, yay, thank God, he got me 40 points. But if he gets used a ton, then his body's going to start breaking down. So I don't think it bodes well for McCaffrey's future.
He'll end up like Todd Gurley. That's fully my belief.
Yeah, he definitely might. So we have the Nightmare Award. If you can remember, we had Nightmare on Jock Street, the worst performances. That could have been defense, offense by a player, whatever. So we have a few teams here, and that's worst performance by an overall team. So we have the Falcons, the Giants, the Jets, the Texans, Jaguars, Detroit, and Chicago. All of these very bad. I would say out of this group, the Falcons definitely – I put them on there, but at least they had Cordarrelle and they had Kyle Pitts and moments of Matt Ryan. So I think I'm going to take them off. The Giants, Daniel Jones had some nice games. Evan Ingram didn't do much. Kenny Galladay didn't do much. Shepard did okay. Tony had some decent games. Barkley had some decent games. Still looking pretty bad, I would think. The Jets, Zach Wilson in and out, didn't do much. Michael Carter had some nice moments, I think, for Carter owners. Brad, you were a Carter owner.
I had more, too. The receivers weren't bad either.
Elijah Moore had some decent games. Corey Davis was in and out. But Michael Carter and Elijah Moore, young rookies, did okay.
Balling out.
Texans, Brandon Cooks,
Maybe.
James,
But
maybe
seriously, who is after that? There's no tight end. There's no running back. There's no
no,
quarterback. That's the whole team. And the defense. You can't play the defense. So
yeah. Nico Collins in there as a rookie. He had some nice moments, but overall fantasy wise, no. Brandon Cooks is really holding them up right now. That's about it. Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence was not a factor in fantasy.
well, if he would just grind on more women like his coach, then maybe he'd actually play better. That must be Urban's key to success. Sorry,
I
that was so bad.
I
Sorry.
don't know. I don't know if that will help him, but James Robinson had some nice moments, but he's been hurt, and that whole thing with the Urban Meyer injury, that's just a big situation if you want to look at that. Receiver wise for them, Marvin Jones played all right. Like I feel like Marvin Jones, James Robinson, and then Laviska Shenault had some okay moments. Definitely better than the Texans, I would say. Detroit, DeAndre Swift, very good. Jamal Williams had a couple of good games when Swift was out. Hawkinson, we know about Hawkinson. Receiver wise, besides St. Brown's one game, I feel like they haven't been good.
No.
But I think Hawkinson and Swift kind of leave them out of the worst performance. And then lastly, Chicago. Fields was pretty much a non-factor in terms of fantasy, except for a couple games. Montgomery was hurt quite a bit, but when he was in, very, very good. Cole Kmet had some decent games. Darnell Mooney had some good games. Allen Robinson, poor Allen Robinson. I drafted him, did nothing at all. Just a horrible fantasy year for him. Brad, I think right now it's between Chicago and the Texans for me. What do you think?
I got to take the Texans, man. You have literally one player, and even then, Brandon Cooks wasn't scoring like 20 plus in half of those games. So the Texans, just don't draft the Texan. Just don't.
Yeah, I'd say Texans as well, no doubt. I mean, they had 3 running backs there, and I remember I signed one of them, picked up the other one, like hoping that one of them, but none of them did anything. Just a horrible situation for the whole team. Management, it's going to be hard to rebuild for them. And as of right now, I don't see many fantasy stats for them next year. Maybe Nico Collins can get a few upticks in production, but that's about it.
Not with Davis Mills, that's for sure.
No. Let's see. Let's go to Rookie of the Year.
Sorry, hang on.
Let's go to Rookie of the Year. So we have Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Elijah Mitchell, Mac Jones, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, and Javonte Williams. Brad, do you think I'm missing anyone from this list, or I think that's good?
I don't know. I'm pretty solid with this list.
I mean, there's definitely some like defensive rookies, but they're not fantasy wise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Or Micah Parsons would be on there. So,
Micah Parsons for sure.
I don't like that you put Donovan Mitchell in the Rookie of the Year stuff. He's just not doing it for Utah. Like, I'm sorry. I saw Mitchell, and then like my brain immediately went Donovan Mitchell, and I'm like, that's not right. That's not right. I don't like this question because it's a very difficult question to answer. But if I have to be 100% honest about what I think about how everyone did, the Rookie of the Year is not going to be a sexy pick, man. It's Jamar Chase. Do you know how much crap we gave Jamar Chase, how much crap we gave Joe Burrow and the Bengals and everything? Everything that came out of that training camp, I did not think they would have more than 2 wins so far this season. Yeah. I did not think that Jamar Chase was going to have more than like 2 touchdowns this entire season. He was an entire shock. Did not expect it. I have to roll with Jamar Chase. Even remember the line on the ball thing. Like, that's why I didn't catch anything. Like, we didn't think he was going to do anything. So much so that I drafted T. Higgins when I had the chance for Jamar Chase. So I'll give it to Jamar. I don't like it, but there it is.
Yeah, I think it's between two guys for me right now, and Chase, like you mentioned, and I think what I'm going to go for is Jalen Waddle. Now, I know Jamar Chase has overall a better ranking than Jalen Waddle does, but just for the consistency factor that Jalen Waddle presented with not a great situation. Like,
Yeah.
he was in and out. The Miami offense had no running back. Like, he was – I feel like McSickey had some nice plays, some nice one-handed catches, but the guy that got them going was Jalen Waddle. Now he had some stinkers early in the year, like he had 6 and a 5, but his last 5 games, last 6 games, 5 games, sorry, 16 and 10 and 20, 28, 18, and a couple of games before that he had 29 and 15. He has about averaging maybe around 9-10 targets a game. 97.3 of players are starting him. Like if he was shown the targets and the looks earlier in the year that he is now, I for sure think he'd be outpacing Jamar Chase. Just early in the year, they couldn't really figure out how to get him the ball. And they played some really tough defenses, New England and Buffalo, to start out. And they played Buffalo again, which is they were a very good defense until they played the Buccaneers most recently. But I think if you're looking for a guy that's the rookie of the year, and the guy that I think Jamar Chase will definitely like keep furthering his career and his fantasy production next year.
For sure.
But like he still has 2 other receivers to compete with, Higgins and Boyd. Like Jalen Waddle, I feel like doesn't really have anybody over there. Devontae Parker can't stay healthy. Will Fuller can never stay healthy. So like, yeah, I'm gonna pick Jalen Waddle. I just think he really surprised me. Like, I knew he was going to be a deep threat coming from Alabama. I mean, he was a deep threat guy, but I didn't think he'd do this. So, yeah, I'm gonna go Jalen Waddle.
I like it.
Let's go Best Defense Award. I want to say MVP for last. Keep the people on their toes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm cool with it.
Wheel of Defense Award, the best defense that we have for this year. I feel like it's in between a few teams here. Patriots, obviously. Bills, Buccaneers. Cowboys had a lot of turnovers this year. Colts are up there for sure. Who do you think you would take in this situation, Brad?
I read this and I immediately knew because no one projected them to even be a top 10 defense. Was the Patriots. What a big old shock. Was it the Mac factor? Was it the fact that some guys on defense finally started figuring out? Was it free agent signings with Judon? Was it figuring out some more D tackles to kind of shore up the front? I don't know. I have no idea what it was. But that defense should not have been as good as they were. With the Cowboys, yeah, they've been investing some heavy picks into their defense. Not a shock. Micah Parsons was a first-round pick. Diggs is there. You have a lot of young guys. Doesn't shock me. Colts, we know the Colts defense is good. That wasn't a shocker either. That's why I drafted them as early as I did in fantasy because I expected them to be the number 1 defense. And the Buccaneers, we know the Buccaneers are good. Like, duh. But for me, it has to go to the Patriots. No one saw it coming. And they performed well. I think, what was their highest? They had like 28 points in the game.
Yeah, I think so.
Gross. What about you, man? There are a lot of good choices. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, Patriots are definitely up there. I would say the Patriots have the best overall defense in the NFL, so I could easily pick them. I'm just going to go with the Cowboys, just because.
Yeah,
I've seen so many explosive plays from them. I don't know if that's because the Cowboys bias or they're on TV a lot, but it just seems like every week, it's not even Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. It's the defense is creating havoc in turnovers and fumbles and non-biased. Maybe this is biased, but I don't think it is. Micah Parsons is at the center of it, and he always seems to be. I think he's in the last 8 games, he's leading the NFL in sacks and then forced fumbles and turnovers. And so it's crazy to see him with all that production. And then Diggs as well. Yes, he's giving up a lot of yards to opposing receivers, but fantasy isn't about giving up yards. It's about giving up touchdowns and getting touchdowns and picks. And he's the best to do that and this year anyway. So I'm going to give it to the Cowboys just because they really seem to live on turnovers and creating negative plays. And that's really the name of the game in fantasy. So I'll go. I mean, Patriots a solid pick too because they're literally the best defense in the NFL. But I'm going to go the Dallas Cowboys. It sucks for me to say that because I hate them, but I got to go with them. So
makes sense.
All right, last but not least is the MVP. I'm not sure why you have this as your winner, but
I know I didn't want to tell you what my winner was, so I just wrote something random in there.
He had Dalvin Cook as his winner. No, he's joking. MVP between a few guys here. We have Cooper Kupp, one of the best receivers. Justin Jefferson, another good receiver. Tom Brady, Jonathan Taylor, and Leonard Fournette. Brad, I don't know when I made this list. I wasn't thinking about it, but the first four guys that I mentioned, I have all of them in my one league.
Yep.
So, listen, I probably would put Derrick Henry up there if he stayed healthy, 100%. Maybe you could put Najee Harris there with Leonard Fournette, maybe. But here's the five guys. We got them all. Brad, what do you think here?
While I'm screwing with him in our Google Docs thing by typing in all kinds of names, it's obvious. Jefferson, we expected to do well. Tom Brady, we expected to do well. Jonathan Taylor, a lot of people expected him to do well. Didn't know that he would, but they expected him to do well. And Fournette, I mean, yeah, we didn't really have high hopes for Fournette. But if you want to talk about the most surprising one out of all of these, it's Kupp. And it has to be Kupp. Because look at how many receivers that the Rams have. How in the world has Kupp had the season he's had? He wasn't doing that with Jared Goff, that's for sure. He was still good, but he wasn't explosive. Fournette only benefits from the benching of Ronald Jones and the distrust in that entire organization with Ronald Jones. That is the only reason he succeeded. Kupp has been there since week one, killing people, murdering people. 30, 40-point games is like every week for him. That's how Devontae Adams should be looking, not Cooper Kupp. So, I don't know. It's the boring pick. I know it's the boring pick, but listen, Cooper Kupp was something else this entire season. It never let up. And like you said, even with 18 points, it's still better than most receivers.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It has to be Kupp. I'm guessing that's where you're going to.
I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor just because I feel like he's been just as consistent as Cooper Kupp has. But I'll give him the edge. It's really not much of an edge at all because they're both crazy good. Jonathan Taylor put up 53 against the Buffalo Bills. 53 against the Bills? I've never seen that, especially against a defense that good. And a couple weeks before that, he put up 34 against the Jets. But it's the Jets. But 53 against the Buffalo Bills, that's insanity to me. Yeah. If you took him off that team, I like Carson Wentz, I do. But the Colts, I mean, they're not great. They definitely wouldn't be this without him. And Cooper Kupp, you could probably make the same argument, but at least they have Odell, okay, and Matt Stafford. So at least they have those guys. But the Colts, you take Jonathan Taylor off.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
He really makes that whole offense go. And I really think you're looking at the birth of an elite fantasy running back if, all-timer, if he can stay healthy. Because the physical tools that he has combined with the speed and the hands that he has and the quickness that he has and the intelligence that he has, like it's a whole complete package, especially when you have so many big boys up front and really good ones at that for the Colts. Yeah. So if you have them, like I do, Hold on to him. Actually, any of these guys, hold on to them. Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Tom Brady, Taylor. Fournette, I'll give him a little bit of credit because I really didn't see this coming. Like, he's had a really good year, and he's carried a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll do this next year. He might be one of those guys we'll talk about in a couple seconds about who might not be as good. Let's move on to that. Next
Yeah.
year
Oh,
predictions.
wait, hold on. Let's talk about Steven real quick. If you want DeAndre Swift that bad, you're welcome to trade me and really push for the playoffs. Have at it. I picked him up because somebody in the league was dumb enough to drop DeAndre Swift, and I was like, well, that would be a decent keeper for next year. So there's that. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, this is called lazy. I did nothing other than wake up and grow random hairs. But thank you. Let me take this off. What did you want to talk about specifically with next year? I know we had some questions that we wanted to kind of zip through.
Yeah. So really quick here, some next year predictions. I'll ask you this. What guy this year that has been really good, maybe top 10 kind of guy, top 15, will fall off? Who do you think will fall off next year? Maybe not fall off the face of the earth, but just not do as well next year. We'll have kind of a slump.
Two players. Kyle Pitts, first of all. That organization is still looking for any kind of feel on offense.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Cordarrelle Patterson is there and making stuff happen, that's not what was supposed to happen. Like that. So their game plan already is not working or what it should be. So I expect that. Who else? This is rookies or in general?
Anybody. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was rookies. Well, okay. If we're going past that, I think Thielen is going to hurt really bad. Listen, Thielen always is the target, like stealer and the end zone, and that's great. But with him getting injured in the last couple weeks, they've really had to lean on Jefferson. And I think maybe in the third year for Jefferson is just going to completely take over that wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be no room for any more, you can still run Thielen and still get a decent receiver. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And since I'm doing a receiver, let's do a running back. This is not a sexy pick, but you want to know who I think is really going to suffer next year? Ezekiel Elliott. We witnessed the rise of Tony Pollard this season. Zeke's just not built the same way anymore. He got skinnier and he still sucks. Like how do you do that, man? I think those are my two. Adam Thielen and Ezekiel Elliott. I didn't want to take something that's obvious.
Yeah.
But I figured to take some side roads there that maybe wouldn't be considered off the top of some people's heads with players that are going to fall. And I mean, Zeke still had a good campaign.
Yeah.
But Zeke he's not going to look good next year. He's not, because I feel like they're going to have the Buccaneers running back room problem of Zeke messes up. You see the bench. Tony Pollard can come in and do exactly what you're doing. So, yeah.
That's good choices. I'm gonna go with, first of all, Deebo Samuel here. I really like Deebo, but if you look at some of his games, which he's been really good in, the earlier games he got a lot of targets, but it seemed to dwindle down after that. So week 4 he had 13, then he had 9, then 11, then 9, then 9, then 5, then 2, then 4, then he got hurt, and then 1 in this last game. A lot of games he was very touchdown dependent, and they really do try to get him the ball in a myriad of different ways, but they are a run-first team. They always will be. Couple that with Jimmy G. Is he going to be the quarterback next year, or will it be Trey Lance? He is no doubt a big play threat, but I don't think he'll ever be the consistent guy. I really don't. I think this year he blew up, but I don't see him being like this every year. I think he will go down to maybe like 13 or 14 next year. It's just a prediction, but I don't think he's going to be as good as he was this year. I think this was kind of an outlier year for him.
Couple that also with the fact that Kittle has come on very strong in the bottom half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
He was finally healthy, and he proved that he is going to soak up a lot of targets. So even if they do go to the air a lot, what makes you think they're going to go to Debo first?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you. That's a good pick.
And then I'm going to go with James Conner as the second one.
Yeah.
Everybody is crazy about James Conner, and he's had a tremendous year, no doubt. But I look at his yards per carry, Brad, and I'm going to go down the list here. 3.3, 3.3, 3.9, 2.8, 2.9, 4.4, 6.4, 4.4, 4.6. That was a good stretch of games. And 3.9, 3.0, 3.8, 2.4. He doesn't get many yards per carry, which is not indicative of being a terrible fantasy running back or even being a good one. But to me, it frightens me because if you're going to bank on him doing this next year, who's to say like their passing game won't be as good as next year? You know what I mean? Their passing game isn't as good next year. Then their run game might not be as good, or they might not get down to the red zone as often for him to score his touchdowns, which is, a lot of times he was very touchdown dependent.
Yeah.
So he did have a couple breakout games, like he had 33 this last game against the Rams. He had 2 touchdowns rushing and 9 catches. And you like to see those receptions out of the backfield, but we know the Cardinals. We know their MO. They have a ton of guys. And they're going to keep doing that. Guaranteed, they're going to keep finding guys to just replenish that whole team. So I don't trust James Conner's usage from here on out. I still think he'll be relevant. Of course he'll be relevant. But I don't think he's going to be like 6th in the league relevant. So I'm going to say he's a down year next year.
Let me follow that with I said this last year, and it's the reason why when Chase Edmonds was really high in value, I traded him. Why? Because you share a backfield with the quarterback that besides Lamar Jackson probably runs like more than anyone else. So you're already competing with a run-heavy quarterback, first of all. Second of all, you are not Marshawn Lynch. You are not give me somebody else that's like a super good running back, like a bowling ball. You're not Jerome Bettis. You're not like your role is to be a speed back. Kyler Murray is the speed back in that offense. Like you're never going to be that. So unless you're a big bruiser, you're not getting 12 to 15 to 20 touches a game. It's not going to happen. Not in that offense. They're going to pass first. That's what Kingsbury was known for. It's what Kingsbury is known for now. They're going to pass first. And you know what? It's successful. So why in the world would they rely on their running back unless they're in a game where they can't pass out of it? That's the only time. That's the only time Connor ever went off. So I'm with you. I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't draft him. I wouldn't have anything to do with him. Pick him up when his value is really high and trade him. That's about it. So, yeah, I'm with you.
I'm going to have one more question, and we'll kind of segment to our end here. And that's what rookies do you see coming in next year and being fantasy relevant? We've seen probably about 7 or 8, like really solid guys. One of your main guys, Jameson Williams, I think he could be a Deebo Samuel of sorts down the road. I really do. I think he could be fantasy relevant. I think the teams will get him involved in a lot of ways. I'm not going to bank on any quarterback being relevant. I really don't see many. If any, maybe a Matt Corral, but it's a big if. Maybe Kenny Pickett. As for other guys, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, guys like that. Not many good running backs. Some always kind of rise to the top. Elijah Mitchell and Javonte Williams kind of rose this year. So maybe I don't know.
Can he can't go yet, can he? Bijan Robinson from Texas?
No, he can't now. But I wish he would.
Because I was going to say he would actually be decent.
Yeah,
in like the late round.
Sure.
Brian Robinson is not good enough to survive in the NFL. He'll be like a 3rd or 4th string running back. You're right. There's just nobody that's coming out at running back that's like elite.
Breece Hall from Iowa State. That's another guy
Yeah.
for. But I just wanted to give those names out there for you as a little segment to our end here, and that's you did say before that our show will end for fantasy, but then starting in January we'll pick up with sideline GMs. And for you guys that are very interested in the draft, NFL draft kind of things, off-season talk, free agency, rumors, draft trackers, mock drafts, contracts, whatever, all that terminology there. I feel like our goal is to make that, a weekly thing and to make that, just all the updates for the NFL. Now, of course, we'll still have our, Jock Talk show, but this one specifically, I really want to get down to who are the players coming out, where are they going to get drafted, what are the team's needs. Mock drafts are always fun. Everybody loves mock drafts, and if you watch the show, tune into it at some capacity. Guaranteed, you've seen a mock draft, you've probably done one. So, you like them. So we want to keep doing that, and we want to try to get a little more in depth with some guys that are coming out this year. I think that's super fun. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add about that?
I do. Brief reminder, guys, the reason that we're talking about January, we are taking a break from today's date until January. No more live shows. Well, we'll have some pre-recorded lives, but it'll all be random fandom. We won't be here Monday or Wednesday to talk sports with you guys. We're going to enjoy being with our family for the holidays, catching up on some bowl games, and just having a really good time. And then that gives us time to recharge. And then we can come back to you refreshed, renewed, and bring you lots of really good stuff. Other than that, thanks for being with us, guys. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for loads of positive comments that we've gotten about this is the show that I like to come to. You guys know what you're talking about. Brad's the pretty one. I'm kidding. Sorry. But you know what I mean. You guys have been super supportive. You've had our backs. This was really a risk for both of us to give a whole show to fantasy, and you have responded super well. So we thank you for being here. We thank you for having our back, and we hope that we will bring you even more great content going forward. Yeah. Hey, I like it. Go Bison. Yes. We will answer one more question, and then we are actually jumping out, man, but we'll answer this for you. If Josh Allen plays, do you think starting Jimmy G would be safer?
No. I would trust Josh Allen on a broken leg more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. I would look for a different quarterback entirely instead of Jimmy G, depending on what you have. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thanks so much for support, everything that you're here. I saw that, Kyle. You would risk it, seriously. You would risk it. He's asking.
I mean, you just got to keep updated on his injury. But even if he's questionable, even if he's hobbling in the game, I don't know, man. I'd probably still Big Ben. He had a couple good games, but man, I still bank on Josh Allen being Josh Allen personally. I just wouldn't.
Who else is available? We'll help you with this quick, and then we're gonna hop off. Because I don't really trust Big Ben either. I mean, Mac Jones, maybe? I would even take Mac Jones. Yeah, I know he plays the Colts, but it's, that's still better than most.
Maybe Taylor Heineke plays the Eagles.
Yeah. I wouldn't take Taysom Hill. Wouldn't take Fields, Hurts, Burrow. Hurts and Burrow are both questionable. Fields is questionable. Oh, dear Lord. Who is even out here? I would almost even take Matt Ryan. I don't know. Man, yuck.
Last guy I'll put out there is we're in week 14?
No, here he is. Matt Ryan and Heineke. I would take Heineke. There you go.
Yeah.
I would take Heineke. I'm with that.
Yeah. If Tua doesn't have no, he does. He plays the Jets. If Tua's out there, I would take Tua over all of them.
Yeah.
If Tua's out there, take him.
If he's not, I mean, You're in the playoffs, I assume. If you're in the playoffs, trade. Do everything you can to win. I mean, if you're there, that's the whole point, is to get in there and beat the crap out of people and win. So
He plays the Jets this week. Tua does. The last game he played the Jets, he's 21. He's been very accurate recently. If Tua's out there, man, I would personally I'd go with Tua over Big Ben or.
I hear you.
Well, dang it, that sucks.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Good luck. Good luck with Taylor Heineke. An Eagles fan, so I hope he doesn't do well, but I have a feeling he might play decent.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, share, talk to us. We'll still have our messenger and everything available. And we will see you in January. Bye, guys.